This is a presentation on caregivers as practical and pastoral theologians. What I'll do is basically remind you that we work primarily at the mid-level theologizing, and particularly regarding the expectation for the final project and the structure of practical theology that you are supposed to reflect in your study. The first thing I want to say is that we have been practicing practical and pastoral theology all along already. For example, your stories and the feedback provided to each other, including my own, reflecting on the practices and reflecting on the experience of ministry, caregiving ministry, either received or offered, and what is that we can characterize as competent and faithful caregiving. I remind you that practical theology is the umbrella theological discipline within which we have a number of sub-disciplines that reflect on important things such as liturgy, preaching, education, youth ministry, and so on and so forth. Now, we can function as bona fide, as authentic practical and pastoral theologians at both mid-level and or the academic level. Remember the tree of theology that in a previous presentation I suggested for us to take into account. So mid-level theologizing, the trunk of the tree, and here's academic, and here's grassroots represented. The difference among these three has to do with the level of abstraction, the complexity made more explicit particularly in the academic theologizing, the particular language one uses, and the public one has in mind. Now, process-wise, we function as practical and pastoral theologians whenever we work with an epistemological and methodological structure and a process that has four main interconnected dimensions. And here's the other simple diagram that we have already considered. Observation, the empirical descriptive function in practical theology, what is going on. Analysis, the interpreted dimension, why questions, particularly with interdisciplinary lenses. Evaluation, the normative dimension, what are good experiences and good and better practices or practices that should be discontinued. And finally, application, what is also called the pragmatic, what works, and strategic, now what, how shall we move ahead in ministry work or application. So when it comes to your projects, you have some specifications you find in the syllabus. I'll just finally illustrate briefly what is that I have in mind, because you are supposed to be already working on that. Three of you have told me that the choice of topic, dementia, clinical depression, and pornography. So you want to make clear that you start, and in your paper, why the topic as part of the descriptive and observation dimension. In some cases, you may want to refer to certain data. They say data, but it's really data. It could be your own experience as a caregiver, for example, how you have been dealing with somebody with depression or dementia as a starting point. And then you may want to make sure, like in all studies, even if it is a book or a doctoral dissertation, but also in our project, which is not a research paper that I expect, friends. It would take more time and energy, and I realistically consider that for a 2-hour course that would be more than what we need, unless you want to work harder, and you are certainly welcome to do that. You also want to make sure that you clarify the purpose. So you choose the topic, the focus, the purpose. What is the main goal you have in mind with this study? And then the methodology is, you can start with testimony, with observation, with interview. For example, again, in cases of clinical depression or dementia, it might be helpful and very interesting actually to have access to the information. If you go to a dementia unit, if you have access and can talk, for example, with a chaplain, simply, with a colleague. I'm not expecting a lot of research in that sense, but at least for you to have a chance to have access to that information. Now, bibliography, of course, is the front end of your study, and there is quite a bit of bibliography, and you will want to select. Feel free to consult with me or with each other along the way. Another thing is making sure that you consider in your analysis and evaluation theological views and spirituality. For instance, in all case of depression and dementia, spirituality is affected, both the personal experience, the inner experience, we might say, and also the outward manifestation. So to refer to that, to try to understand it, is going to be very, very helpful for all of us. In the case of pornography, the whole question, for example, of bondage and addiction, the moral component, the evil dimension, what is it that characterize the pornography as an addiction, and in what way is it very similar to chemical dependency, about alcohol, and what is different, etc., etc. And then, of course, what are good practices in caregiving when it comes to understanding, accompanying, and also complementing whatever those folks that we serve, we minister with and to receive, whereas in a hospital or in another setting. I do look forward to knowing more about what your projects are, and to collaborate with you in the ways that you desire or feel you need. It should be fun, and it should be a way for us to expand our agenda considerably and to learn together and from one another. So good luck with that.